What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are hard at work on the Crazy Taxi cabinet, taking a bit of a break from the Road Blasters project because I'm waiting on artwork to show up. So while we wait on that, let's get back to work on the Crazy Taxi cabinet, because the Crazy Taxi cabinet is missing a big component of that Voltron that makes up the cabinet. Remember, we talked about the different components that bolt together and make this big thing, and it's great for, being able to disassemble it and move it around. And one of those components that bolts onto the side was the coin mechanism itself. It was a separate module kind of bolted onto the side. And I don't really like the way that looks. It seems a little lopsided, but it's fine. It's the way the cabinet was originally designed. Problem was, mine was destroyed. That was the one downside of the cabinet, but it's also one of the reasons I got the cabinet for such a good price, was that the coin mech module was just trash. So I thought, instead of just trying to save it or find another one, let's just get rid of it entirely. Only problem with that is that, we're not using coins, so that's fine. But this wiring harness goes inside, and it serves a couple purposes. So it's not just for coins. So you got your light up buttons, for your coin return, and the actual coin mech accepting the coin. So there's two different switches there, actually four total, two lights, and then two coin registers. But you got other stuff going on here besides the meters that you have, for each coin inserted. You have a degaussing switch. You also have the test service switch, and most importantly, I think of all, the volume knob. So what do? Well, I could just maybe splice into the existing harness under the cab and then just wire in a knob somewhere. But I thought, well, why? I mean, I'd like to keep some of this functionality. Instead of reinventing the wheel, I'll just remake that module. Now, we're not going to have to go as wide as it was to accommodate that big coin door. It can be a lot sleeker and slimmer. Let's take this downstairs, see if it even fits. Coming back, here we go. All right, so this is kind of what I'm thinking. All this wiring. I said I'm gonna have 4 inches of void here, but if I do it like this, I can just run those, I guess one at a time, run that through that hole there. So do that. And then the rest of all this can go in there, right? And then this goes nowhere here. These are the buttons here. So this is how this is going to work. Look inside the cabinet. So I've got these marked. This is coin 1, coin 2, and then these are the lights. So I'll have this much inside, kind of coiled up, go into my buttons that will be about here-ish. Using that to kind of mark. Then you go on the other side and you see, oh, hey, there it is. How you doing? Now we'll get some screws. Actually, I need to hold this in place and drill pilot holes through and then mount it. So I can go ahead and mount this guy first. Got to cut our notch in this guy, and then we can mount it and put it all together. These are just pilot holes. These aren't going to be the official. These won't be the finished holes. All right, so I'll go ahead and pull this out of the way. Let's go ahead and put some glue in here. And then we'll run this insert in, tighten that till it's flush, clean up the excess glue. There we go. Good morning, sunshines. It is the next day. I had to go get some more wood so I could finish this piece. Oh, this is going to be beautiful. A couple things to catch you up on. So I did drill my 2 holes for my coin in buttons. So that's going to be, I think I need to actually take this down just a little bit. Looks like it's a little long. That's in there like that, and that looks better. Just a little bit. When you're talking about MDF, the glue really does most of the work. Yes, everything is a gun. Just like when you were a kid. Everything's a gun. Okay, welcome back. Happy New Year, everybody. Work continues on the Crazy Taxi control panel, the coin-in control panel. This is the progress I've made so far. You can see that everything has been, this board has been completely prepped and test fitted. Everything works great. The standoffs have their threaded inserts sunk in there. That's going to work fine for the hardware, so we'll be able to mount that little control board in there. We have our corners that have been finished and smoothed all the way around. So all the pieces meet up nice as far as this goes. So now it was time to actually make the cover. And this is it. So you put the cover over this, stand it up like that. Okay, so basically we attach this to this, and then all you'll have is this this access door right here, which is over there. It's in paint right now. And everything's great, right? Well, there's a problem. See, because of the way the door is, I needed something to attach to. I needed some more meat, and this half-inch piece is just not going to cut it. So I had to box this whole area in. What that does now is creates a whole host of problems. Once let's say I screw it, nail it, and call it good, right? It'd be one nice, beautiful, solid piece. Problem is mounting this whole box now. I've created this 1.5 inches, and because I only have 4 inches in here, this 1.5 inch lip now impedes my ability to do anything. So I could maybe get this thing bolted, but then having to run the wiring would just be a nightmare. So here's what we're going to do. Instead of redesigning everything or trying to find some other door, because I like that metal door, it's hinged, it's gonna be nice. It kind of simulates the look and the feel of a real coin door being metal. We're going to make this entire panel removable. So I'm going to add some wood in the corners, and then we're going to sink 4 1/4 threaded inserts into that wood. Okay, so here we are. A few more days have gone by, and in the last part of the video, we decided we were going to go ahead and make this piece removable so that we could get inside and obviously the initial setup, and then any kind of wiring issues in the future, we'll have access to it, so that's definitely a good thing. So I treated the inside of this with the shellac, did the outside, and then did a little bit touching up on some of these holes here from the brad nailer, added a little filler, and then I bolted this piece on, and then I sanded it on the piece to make sure that everything lined up. There's a little bit of overhang, so I wanted to get that just right, so when it's put together, it looks like one solid piece. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and with this bolted on, since we've got the inside treated, let's go and treat the entire outside. And now let's take a little break from all the woodworking and replace the fan in the power supply. It was working, but it was really, really loud. It was actually so loud, it was louder than the big fan that cools the entire cabinet. So a swap out is pretty simple. Take it out of the cabinet, remove the cover, replace the fan, and then put it all back together. All right, so with the power supply all sorted out, now it's time to mount my custom coin door. Bolts, 2.5 inch stainless. Stainless as always, if you want to use stainless, just to make sure that the threads do not gald, because stainless is a little softer than some metals. Make sure and just hit it with a little bit of anti-seize, not Loctite, anti-seize. Now we're going to lift this thing up in place, get the bottom 2 bolts in. It's just in the cabinet. And I could probably get away with just these 2 bolts. Man, that's mounted on there pretty solid. We'll go ahead, we'll get this thing wired up, and then we're going to have to install coin doors. Not the coin doors, but the coin buttons. Connect those wires, and then I got to decide. Probably going to leave all the wiring in here. Makes more sense. It'll make the inside of the cabinet look cleaner. Okay, now it's time to add an item that came on some of these cabinets, but for some reason was missing from mine, and it's the aluminum grill that covers the 3 lights directly above the monitor. Now, I couldn't find a direct replacement, but I did find some aluminum grill on Amazon. I guess it's for automotive applications. It's a octagon pattern, and once you get all the measurements, well, first you got to flatten the thing, and then once you flatten it, get all the measurements, use some tin snips to cut this thing to size, test fit it several times. Don't be afraid to trim a little bit, and you'll be good to go. And let's add a feature that was never included in these cabinets is something to take out some of the hardness of the seat. I just found some closed cell foam, once again off Amazon, traced out the patterns from the black center sections in the seats, and then transferred that over to the film, pulled off the backing, and just stuck them in place. Makes a huge difference. So much of a difference that I decided to go ahead and add this to my other cabinet. Not too shabby, right? Alright, so it's the next day and all the paint is dry. Painted the back of the seat because it just really needed it. It was in bad shape. Probably going to do the same thing with the side panels somewhere down the line, but this is going to have to do for now. And then all the hardware is ready to be installed. Wow, this seat sure is more comfortable with these pads on. Ah, this is not bad. I can game for days now. Let's get this bottom piece on. And then we'll move on to button up the side pieces in the back. Careful to just not scratch up the paint too much. Each fastener's got 2 coats of paint on it, so it should be pretty good. Yeah, it's the only downside. It looks better than the plastic around it. These have a little bit of rust on them, a little bit scratched, so alright, now it's time to put the final touch on the side box here. The sidecar. Come on, there's always that one. It's always the last bolt. Oh, there it is. And that just cracked. That just absolutely cracked. Awesome. So the bolts are a little too long. We'll leave it in place for now, but these are going to have to come out. I have to go with a shorter bolt. Of course I do. So, well, with anything custom, this stuff happens. This stuff absolutely happens. So, at least it looks good on there. Loosen these up, find 4 bolts that are shorter, paint them black, and put them on. That's disappointing. Oh well, let's move on. Alright, so let's see what the damage is here. Yeah, absolutely snapped the fitting. So what we're going to do, we're going to hold the back. Hold the back with a pair of pliers. And then we're going to loosen it up. I'm trying to do, but we're going to put some more glue on this bad boy. See if I can shove some glue in there. Yeah, that's a bunch. That's a bunch of glue. That should work out just nice. I've got some new hardware, shorter hardware, in paint right now, drying. So then later on, maybe even today, we can get that installed. So no problem. Just a little small issue, easily corrected. Cover for the back. That's going to look really good, but there is something that's missing off this. This molding. So it had some old dry rotted molding on the outside of it. Of course, it was, it was just kind of faded, and this stuff was just all, like I said, wore out and dry rotted, and overall not good. So we're gonna go ahead and trim this thing out with some fresh U molding. I guess is what this is. I just matched it up with what I found online. This is going to be exactly what we need to fit around this and give it a nice new stock look. So when you put that back together, you can see now I got a clear shot to the hole. Now because the plastic is cracked, the hole's a little oblong, we're going to go ahead and use our fender washer that I've painted the same color, and that will give us to tighten down on. Right there at the end, tighten down, and the washer kind of disappears, and then that forms around it. Okay, so with all that done, now it's time to check the fitment of these side panels. I don't have any bolts for these, but pretty sure they're going to be the same ones that I used on this seat. And this doesn't come off too horribly. That's going to go off and on pretty easy, but you can see it obviously needs a paint job for sure. So we're going to set that off to the side. This panel doesn't quite fit on there as well as it should. So I'm going to take the heat gun and then hit it back in this on the corners that are not really stretching as much as they should. The front looks pretty good, but needs a little bit of love. So do that now. Finally, we're at the point where we're almost basically super close to being done. Decided to give these pieces a nice coat of gloss black, just like I did back here on the back of the seat. Everything matches, and it looks brand new. I mean, well, basically brand new. If you look close, you can see some of the scratches where I had to get kind of aggressive with some of the decal there. And of course, for those of you that are fans of this cabinet, you know that finding side art is not the easiest thing in the world to do. So we're going to have to do a little searching. I have reached out to a couple places to see if they'll make something for me. I know that some of you have said that some of the art has actually been, or the files, I think vector files, have been released out there in the forums somewhere in the internet. So we're going to definitely have to take a look at that. Clamping this in place has helped for the most part. Oh, look at that little crack there. It's not perfect, but they're on there. And they look a lot better than they did before with all the faded and half-tore graphics. Huh. Not bad. Not bad at all. The last bit of hardware. There we go. Look at all that hardware. These are the 20 bolts that were not included with this cabinet. I don't know where they went. They were just, and they're simple quarter 20, so that's not bad. Of course, all stainless. Painted black, as we do here on the channel in the arcade. We want things to last for a very long time. Now I have to be careful that I don't scratch the paint on the new bolts, because that would just break my heart. And I can already tell that as tight as they were to snap on there, lining this up with the holes, it's going to be just as tough. So after what seemed like an eternity, the cabinet is finally done. Well, minus some of the artwork. I'm still working on that. I want to kind of take my time with that and get something as close as I can as far as the side art is concerned. We're going to take a few departures like we've done on the coin door. Completely different coin door setup. This thing turned out really nice. I like the way that it actually doesn't extend beyond the side of the cabinet. So I really do like that a lot. The other sidecar coin mech pod on the side just really didn't do it for me. The pedals turned out really nice with the grippy tape. Very good. Of course, one of the greatest things, I mean, just adding a little bit of cushion to this seat has made this infinitely more comfortable for sure. The sound is great. The subwoofer, unfortunately, does not work. We're going to have to see if we can maybe find a subwoofer board or a separate amp maybe that may be required. I'm not exactly sure. I love the way that the lights turned out. This thing looked just plain, you know, without this. Getting the mesh, getting those lenses to light from the back was absolutely just, it was worth the time, worth the effort. But this cabinet turned out awesome. I can't wait to play it. I'm really excited just working on it, getting the experience, because there were so many different games that came in this form factor, this style of cabinet by Sega. Housed some of the greatest games out there. There's I think it was Daytona USA 2 is a big one that comes to mind. Also, some of the later boards, like the Churro boards that were famously used to Outrun 2, were in this cabinet. And so once you get this figured out, you're pretty much set for many, many more arcade classics. Now, will many more make their way into this arcade? You're just gonna have to wait and see. But anyway, thank you so much for stopping by and checking out the channel and checking out this project, and I will see all of you next time.